Meeting of the Smith County Emergency Services District 2 Board of Directors to order. Certify there is a quorum present with all 5 commissioners, and all due notices have been posted. At this time, I'll ask Commissioner Domney to lead us in a prayer and pledge of allegiance to the United States and Texas flag.
Precious Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for this opportunity together today, Lord. We also especially thank you for the beautiful day that you provided us. Lord, pray that you be with us as we go through this meeting, that you lead us and guide us, that everything we do be pleasing to your eyes. Just name we pray.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. And since we have a large crowd tonight, if everyone would please silence your pagers and your cell phones, if you would, I'd appreciate that. I think we have a couple of guests tonight. I think the city manager from Bullard is here. You know, tell us your name, sir.
My name's David Horton, city manager in Bullard.
Okay.
Actually had some questions about, or really just seeking some answers about agenda item number 5.
Okay, we'll have to wait till that item comes up then. Okay, thank you, sir. All right. And then Mr. Harrod, where's he at? Is he still here? Running for Commissioner Precinct 3, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, glad to have y'all. All right. Item number 4 is public comment. And during public comment, I ask that anybody that makes public comment that you keep your remarks to the items on the agenda. Once the public comment section is over, there will be no questions from the audience. The board cannot take any action on anything you say or answer back to you. It's just to give us your opinion or your facts. And I think how many signed up for public comment?
I think there are 4 total.
4 total. Well, usually we allow 3 minutes for public comment, but I think we'll allow 5 tonight. That way everybody gets a chance to speak and say what they need to say.
I think that you ought to ask the board before you make that change.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying that
Okay.
it's not a decision that you make unilaterally, it's a decision that we should be making as a board.
Okay, well,
So do you
then we
want-
can stay
do you
with
wanna
3
pre-
minutes.
Do you want to present a motion, or,
I'll present a motion. We'll allow at least 5 minutes.
okay, I'll second your motion.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I thought it was my prerogative of acting on some advice I was given, so anyway. So I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or question? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Thank you, sir. All right, so who signed up for public comment first?
We have David Hortner.
Okay, David Horton. All right, David?
Thank you. I guess my question would be, I was informed that Jamestown was in need of the fire station, that they don't have adequate, coverage there, which, if that's what they're needing, I 100% agree. If they need coverage, if they need a fire department there, I think that should happen. I mean, I'm not here to say anything negative or anything in a bad way, but I was also told that if the fire department was built there, that it could possibly pull services from Bullard. And y'all do know that Bullard has the second highest call volume behind Chapel Hill. And we have 7 schools in Bullard. We have 1 school being built now. We have several additions. Bullard's growing anywhere between 8 to 10% a year in population. I just ask that when y'all do take this in consideration, please think about that. If there was a way that we could work out to where Jamestown could be covered without pulling from other stations, or actually us losing the coverage that we have, I would just ask the board, please take that into consideration.
All right. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Next one.
We have a Glenn Hinckley.
Okay. Mr. Hinckley?
Thank you for allowing us to speak tonight. The last time I was here, I was asked some questions regarding Sky Ranch, and I'm here with two hats on. One is I'm a longtime board member of Sky Ranch since 1971. And number two is I was the landowner that sold part of the land to the fire department and also gave part of the land to the fire department. And I dealt with primarily four of the number two district people. I recognize Charles and Johnny there, but the issue for me is I was promised certain things when we signed the contract and before we did that. And one of the things that was very important to me was whether there was money appropriated or not, and I was told there was. What we didn't want to do was sell land and then wait for long, long periods of time, and Charles can verify that we asked for that. We also asked for copies of minutes or comments from the board here to confirm the fact that Charles had told me that they'll have the money to build a facility. The location of the facility that we picked was beneficial to the district number two for a couple of important reasons. One is it was high on a hill. It was just north of the intersection of two roads, so it would give the fire station access to a lot of the county there very, very quickly. And the third thing is that Sky Ranch being really close by with kids year-round and adults year-round there, it also would provide some EMT kind of support and service for that. We had a fire several years ago there, and it took over 25 minutes for it to arrive, and the support to come, and when it did finally come, it was mostly volunteer work. The building had burned to the ground, and so there was nothing that could have done to save that. Had the fire station been closer, of course, we don't think the same outcome would have happened. Plus, from a public service point of view, with the kids there on the camp, and there are lots of them there every day, I think that would be very important to be able to support the community from that aspect of both the health, safety, and welfare point of view. So it's more than just the bricks and sticks of the building. It's basically the kids and so forth like that. And I'm told that y'all make more calls for health reasons than you do fighting fires. So, and I commend you for that, because that's something that's really important. And it was important to me last time we came to watch the process that y'all use, and to also hear the way in which you select your chiefs. They have to jump through a lot of hoops, and I just have to admit to you that about the only thing I know in fighting fires is what I learned in the service is stop, drop, and roll. That was about it for what so I know it's a tough job. I also know the EMT guys are really important too. And my thought and prayer is that y'all would give serious consideration to restoring us back. And then I read in your website that basically there's an announcement made several years ago for basically acquiring land and constructing new fire stations. And here, this was in the spring of 2023. Said, most immediately, we're thrilled to announce the construction of the Jamestown Fire Station, which will enhance emergency response. We praise that. We presume that you will honor your commitment to us and the citizens of that area, especially for me, because I would be very unhappy to find out that you were delaying the fire station or canceling it or moving it, because I gave you, Charles, you will remember, I gave you guys 1 acre of land, $30,000 worth of that, on the condition that you were going to build it, and you all needed a little help to get that funded. So we did that. We had the property appraised correctly. It's on the top of a hill. So it gave you the most benefit of a range of communication. You could connect to the Verizon tower that's very close by, and the only other big communication tower. So you're right in the center of an area that you wanted to be in terms of that location. And I feel it's the honorable thing to do, and I trust Charles and Johnny, who signed the contract, to be men of their word. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hinckley. Next.
We have Lisa Hammond.
Okay. Ms. Hammond?
Can Linda from Sky Ranch go after Glenn? Would that be okay with everybody?
Yes, ma'am, that'd be fine. We'll allow it.
Good evening. My name is Linda Polk, and I've had the privilege to serve the Ministry of Sky Ranch as the president and CEO for almost 18 years. We appreciate the opportunity to address you all this evening and talk to you a little bit more about the needs, and we appreciate the consideration of the enhanced services, emergency services that are being considered. We are begging you for them, actually. From what I understand, that there's a little bit of a misperception, and I can understand that, about Sky Ranch and how many people we serve, because I had that same misperception when I joined Sky Ranch almost 18 years ago. But Sky Ranch serves 65,000 a year. Now that's in Texas, Colorado, and Oklahoma. 45,000 of those are served in the van location. So we have 45,000 people that we serve that come in and out the gates of Sky Ranch every single year. A lot of people think that we're just a summer camp. We serve about 12,000 a year through our summer programs. We serve 17,000 during the non-summer months, and those are schools for our 3-day outdoor education program. And throughout the weekends, we serve another 14,000, 15,000 for our retreat services. So on any given day, 365 days a year, 24/7, Sky Ranch has at least 1,500 on camp. Now on Sundays, the guests leave and we have an afternoon off and an overnight. And so there's a small window of time where we don't have anybody on camp. We also have 225 full-time employees at our van campus. We have 300 part-time during the non-summer months, and during the summer months, we have 850 summer staff that join us for the summer. So as you can see, it's not just, or you can hear, it's not just summer camp. We go all year round, and the need for this emergency services are critical. These kids are not ours, but we treat them like they're ours. And their health, safety, and welfare is critical. And I know that that is a concern for you all as well. Again, not just for Sky Ranch, but for the neighbors, for the companies, for the people that live in the Jamestown area. Sky Ranch did have a fire that Mr. Hinckley spoke about. It did take 25 minutes. The building was burned to the ground. And we do have emergency services that are needed throughout the year, primarily during the summer, but it takes 15 minutes for the Lindale, 15 minutes, 7 miles from Van, but it takes 25 from Van. And so the services that we get are not timely in order to protect people. So I appreciate the consideration. Would also like to just ask that and invite and welcome the opportunity for anybody to come and visit the campus, because I'm not sure if we had a situation like we did with the big fire that we had that the building burned to the ground. I'm not sure anybody would really know what to do in terms of the fire department. So we would appreciate some investment in time in getting to know us a little bit better so that you can better protect us. So appreciate your time, and we hope that you will consider the things that we've said this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Hammond?
I'm not real sure that I have to introduce myself because I have talked to some of you for so long, but I'm Lisa Hammond and I'm a resident of the Jamestown area. and have been for a very, very long time. Stuart was born and raised there, and we have a lot of ties to the Jamestown community. I'm not going to go into, all the things that I've said every time that I've stood up here for the last 7 or 8 years. I've just got a few points that I want to make with you guys. One is a decision was made that a Jamestown station was needed and that it was very important, and I helped this board find Mr. Hinckley. I met with Sky Ranch. We tried to talk Sky Ranch into selling or donating some land. I've talked to a lot of landowners in that area because that was the area that this board targeted that they thought would be the best area for a station. And you board, you decided that it was important and that you needed this and we needed to go forward. Now all of a sudden, I hear through the grapevine that, oh, we don't think Jamestown's going to happen. I thought it was a done deal. We were getting bids. Y'all were trying to decide on the contractor. I've been driving by waiting for the ground to break. And so what has changed to now Jamestown does not need a station? I still pay my tax dollars. And the gentleman spoke about Bullard. I am not disputing, and I said that the last time I talked up here. I'm not going to say if Winona needs another station. I don't know what Bullard needs. I don't know what Chapel Hill needs. Those stations have guys on shift 12 hours a day. We have 0. I'm telling you, we have volunteers in Van, Texas. There's not very many, and I love those guys over there at Van, and they're doing the best that they can. But y'all know, volunteers are getting slimmer and slimmer by the day. You're entrusting us to volunteers in Van or Mineola. You don't even know how well they're trained. They're not trained by Smith County ESD. You don't know if I'm getting trained volunteers or not. You're just handing us off, cutting them a check, and assuming we're being taken care of. And again, I know those guys. I like those guys, and nothing against. Those guys are doing the best that they can with what they've got. I understand that the ESD is currently phasing out all the volunteers. And that is your strategic plan. That is up to you guys, what you do. You're trying to get rid of volunteers everywhere else in this county, but you're entrusting us to volunteers. And they're not even your volunteers. So guys, none of this makes any sense to me. I'm a business person. I own my own company. I know the decisions are tough, but these decisions that are being made right now do not make sense to me. And I wish we could have an open session where you could sit down and explain it to me, and maybe you could convince me otherwise, but I don't understand it. In closing, I said we lost a home to a fire. I know what it feels like to lose everything that you own. When it takes 30 minutes for somebody to get there, you're not going to save anything. I have entered into an Open Records Act with the Smith County Sheriff's Office to get all the response times for Smith County ESD2 for all the stations to compare response times in our area to everywhere else. They tried their best to get that to me before tonight, and they have not been able to do that. But I'm expecting what I'm going to see is Dixie Fire Department reaching our area is going to be longer than any other jurisdiction in this county. Y'all can talk to Larry Smith. I've already had a battle with the Sheriff's Department because nobody wanted to deal with that northern tip of Smith County. We're way out there and there's nothing else up there. I got Larry Smith's attention, and I have deputies out there in northern Smith County on a regular basis, and crime rate has decreased substantially because we've finally gotten the attention we deserve out there, and I expect that attention from the fire department as well. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you. Anyone else signed up for public comment?
That's it.
Okay, all right. All right, we'll move on to item number 5, which is discuss and consider and take any action regarding a potential Jamestown fire station in terms of timeline for its construction and staffing with a 24/7 paid crew. So, who wants to speak? Okay, Charles, go ahead.
Okay, I'm Commissioner Charles Wilson, and I've asked that this item be put on our agenda for tonight in the special meeting.
And I'm requesting that the board consider and approve the start of the Jamestown Fire Station construction and make plans for the 24/7 paid crew staffing as soon as possible after completion of the construction. And we've met with those people for several years now, even in community meetings at the church up there and other meetings. And we have promised them that we build a station, which we've got to that point of buying the land. And a lot of people up in there has helped us very much in moving along with this. We also made the promise, and I say promises, we told them we'd put 24/7 on it. It's been so hard to get volunteers throughout the county. And this was all done, and we're to the point now. We have the land, the drawings of the station have been made, and I think that all the paperwork is set forth to go with it. So that's my reason for asking this to be put on the board meeting for the night, and that we move forward to this. And I'm going to make a motion that we move forward with station construction and plans for the 24/7 manpower at that station once it's complete, and we can go from there. So that's my motion that I'll present out here tonight.
Okay. Well, Commissioner Wilson made a motion. Do I hear a second? Okay. Do I hear a second? Okay, and then I'll make the second that we'll move forward with it. Is there any other question or discussion that anybody would like to chime in on?
I'll chime in.
Okay.
So, I guess the first question I have for you, Mr. Wilson, is under what premise did you make that commitment, a promise to that community? Because as far as I knowledge of, there's never been a board action that has committed to the building of that station in full staffing. We've taken this in stages, and the board has only approved up to the design stage and inquiry stage.
Well, I recall a year or so ago, maybe over a year ago, that you asked that the board set aside $1 million for whatever it took to start the station, paperwork, land, or whatever. And I don't know what area, remember what area that was set forth in, Eric might, but I remember you making that motion or decision or whatever, and I think we agreed on it.
So, yeah, so we did. We made the motion, and we've gone through the due process of
Right.
purchasing property
Right,
and doing the architectural study,
right.
but that's all we've done. So there's been no, so I guess I have a little bit of problem in understanding how they were promised something that
Well,
we as individuals can't do. Only the board
basically,
can take, only the
yeah.
board can take action.
Right,
We as individuals cannot.
and we brought all that to the board to talk about and then move to this point.
So we've only committed to purchasing property and doing architecture. We've never made any commitments beyond that. So, and that's all I have to say about that.
Okay.
So, and we have other data that tells, that we need to be looking at, that tells us where the needs are within the county. And I was elected in District 1, but I represent Smith County ESD2 as a whole. And so, I want to ensure that we're making decisions that are on behalf of the ESD2, not individual emotional decisions that may be being made. So,
Okay.
but I would actually like to make a motion that we would resurrect the study that we had done in 2019.
We can't take another motion until we vote on the motion that's on the
Okay,
floor.
I'll hold in
Okay,
until we can
so,
vote on yours.
yeah. All right. You have any comment, Scotty?
And maybe our staff can help us. Weren't we reevaluating plans, or had we come to a final decision on what the layout was gonna be?
The layout on the station as
On
far
the
as floor
station,
plan?
yeah.
All of that is complete. We
Okay.
did an RFP process that indicated the station's approximate construction cost.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Brad, do you have anything?
I'm in favor, like I say, station built, like I say, I don't know how this got to this far. They made a promise to them to do this here, so, like I say, that's funny, I'm just,
Okay.
see
Well,
the
the
station.
only thing I'm gonna say is this afternoon before I left work, I got a call from one of the board members at Bullard. And we had a pretty lengthy conversation. But the gist of the conversation was, from him, was help that community out. And that's what he told me. They came from one of the board members at Bullard Fire Department. So, they said they were planning on being here tonight, but they couldn't be here, so that was what he told me, so.
May I comment on that?
No, sir, no, sir. So,
Well, aren't y'all the board members for the Bullard community?
huh?
As far as the fire department, y'all the board members for over there, aren't you?
They have a fire department board too.
And why?
No. We can't allow any questions from the floor, I'm sorry. Is that true, Mr. Attorney?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
All right. So anyway, we have a motion and a second. So at this time, I'll call for a roll call vote and ask people to vote. Commissioner Donald?
No.
Okay. Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Commissioner Thornton?
No.
Commissioner Edwards?
Yes.
So it's 2-2, and I'm gonna say yes also. Motion carries. Item number 6, discuss and consider and take any action regarding relocating the paid staff crew currently at Ridge Springs Station 2, further north of Ridge Springs Station 1. Chief, you want to speak on that, or Charles, or whoever?
Don't make me any difference. Go for it and I'll talk or whatever.
I'm happy to discuss the fact that, much like we discussed in the workshop just a few weeks ago, and when looking at the heat maps that you have before you, I have additional if anybody needs those. But the location that the heat maps demonstrate where the highest quantity of call volume occurs in location related to Red Springs Station 2, which is at the service center site, in correlation with areas including Morningside on the loop at 323 to be more precise. There is a high volume of calls that occur in that location. That station is the first due into that area, and their response into that area is critical in terms of rescues, in terms of firefighting, moving them further north, north of I-20, as we discussed in the work session, increases that response time by upwards of 15 minutes. Just like this discussion we've just had, those response times are an important component, but not in isolation. The call volume is very important to look at as well. And it's really, it's a study called community risk reduction, and looking at all of our risks within the county, where the greatest impacts can occur from any of the decisions that you make. Some decisions are made with the science and the data, and some are made outside of that, and that's okay. Those are political decisions to be made. But in every case, we should look at applying our resources to impact the greatest impacts throughout the county. And so with that, what you have before you is much like if you were to pay for a third-party study to occur. And I think, Commissioner, you were referencing that a moment ago, but that's the kind of study that you would see. You saw that in your 2019 study for the ESCI long before I arrived. Really looking at where resources are allocated in terms of the type of calls, the acuity of calls, and the quantity of calls. And so, in no uncertain terms, I could not sit before you tonight and recommend a move of the staffing from where it's currently located to north of I-20. The data would not support that, nor would any of the studies and recommendations that are available for fire protection. It's not to say that the Red Springs Station 1 is not an important facility. It is a very important facility, and we have a lot of need for it and are currently using it quite heavily. Just this past week, we had Texas Task Force 1 water rescue team that housed there. That was a state asset that had been forward deployed to Smith County and was housed there. We've housed other state assets over the last few weeks as well. We hold classes at Red Springs Station 1. It's an important classroom for us. We also overstaff in terms of critical fire danger and things like that. And we'll staff additional staffing there because of its bunk space that it has to staff additional firefighters. Has a critical component for our response model, but at this moment, until something else would occur, and as we know, our resources are limited. We can't solve every piece of the risk of the community. As discussed, our staffing models at Bullard and Chapel Hill are important components, but we have also had, in the last year, we had a discussion about purchasing property in the Morningside area. As we look at our finite amount of resources to apply throughout our county, we know that those dollars are stretched thin. Even forecasting out, and Mr. Edstrom has done some wonderful forecasting for us and making sure that we don't get ahead of ourselves. Making sure, most importantly, that we can sustain the operations, that we don't enter into agreements and or hire staff that we can no longer sustain. So I think that it's important that in this case, Morningside would be an important element if we were going to move the staffing. And so I cannot sit before you as your chief and recommend moving the staffing. It's not that the Red Springs Station 1 isn't a wonderful facility. It is. In fact, it's much better than the facility that the men and women are operating out of currently. But I cannot recommend that to you, knowing that the impacts that will create in our response model. And I'm available if you have any additional questions.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Charles.
Okay, my reason for placing this on the agenda is that I've looked at all this that the chief has brought forth and others have talked about, and I feel like that the 24/7 staff at our Station 2, Red Springs Station 2 on 14, should be moved back to the Station 1 on 14, like they talked about, north of the interstate. And as far as incoming input of fire units, Morningside or whatever, like he said, we've talked about purchasing land there for a station near that area, and that possibly could be done in the future. But we have, and I'll name it off, you have Chapel Hill probably less than 14 minutes from their station to Morningside. We've just found out from one of the assistant chiefs at Winona, their Station B at Owentown is staffed a lot during the day and nights with volunteers now, where we didn't have that. They're probably 10 minutes from Morningside. You've got Winona Station 3 up on 271 that can come in. And I know some of you don't understand that, but anytime we have a house fire, a major wreck, whatever, they respond out 3 units automatically. We've got Dixie up on I-20 at 110 at New Harmony. We even have Lindale that we help out. They're another fire district a lot, and they help us a lot. That runs a lot with us, and we help them a lot. Also, there's other departments around the area. Jackson's Station maybe 2 is on New Kilgore Highway. They're probably less than 10 minutes getting to Morningside. So we have a number of stations. If you look at one of the maps, that can respond to that area pretty quickly, even though the chief's done all these stats, they can be there quickly. And I feel like, I know this area from Owentown up Interstate to 110, there's a very wide opening with them not being at Station 1 at Red Springs. And that's why I'm asking that we move it back and staff it with 24/7 men. All these departments can come in, as many as we need. All they got to do is patch them out. So, I'm making the motion that we move that 24/7 staff from Station 2, Red Springs, back to Station 1 in Red Springs for that reason, and with 24/7 staff there. It's a much larger facility, like I said, and I think it'll benefit us for that open area. I made that motion.
Okay, have a motion by Commissioner Wilson to move the staffing from Red Springs 2 back to Red Springs 1. So I don't know, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Commissioner Edwards. Now, discussion, Brent, you have anything?
Just will simply state that I don't hear a compelling argument based on any data, just speculation on what to be done. And I certainly put the trust in my chief way above the personal feelings of Mr. Wilson at this time.
Okay. Anything else, Charles?
No.
Scotty?
It's contrary to every decision we've been making as far as where we place our staff at. I have a hard time supporting that at this time.
Brad? Well, I'm gonna ask Commissioner Wilson if he would reconsider and pull off, and withdraw his motion and withhold it for at least 6 months until we can see if we can get volunteers back in that area. And we know they're working on it. Would you consider that?
Well, I'd consider it, but not for that time period.
Or what would you consider?
2 months at the most, because they're nearly complete on accomplishing that at Station 1.
Okay, well. How do you feel about that, Brent? Put it off for a while and see?
You got a motion in front of you, did we vote on it?
We're still discussing, so
I
I'm
know,
asking.
but I'm not
Okay,
gonna comment
okay.
on the
All right.
argument.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? We'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Domney?
No,
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Commissioner Thornton?
No.
Commissioner Edwards?
Yes.
And I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. We're gonna leave it as a tie vote. I'm gonna abstain, and I will make a motion that we revisit this within 90 days to see if Red Springs can get their volunteers back, and then we'll proceed from there. We have a second.
I'll second.
Have a second on that. Okay. Have a motion and a second. Okay. Roll call vote. Commissioner Domney?
Yes.
Charles?
No.
Commissioner Thornton?
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards?
Yes.
Okay, I vote yes. So we're gonna delay it 90 days, Charles. Okay? And motion carries. All right. Let's see, item 7 is a closed session. As far as I know, there's nothing for closed session to discuss. And so I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
Somebody,
Have a motion to adjourn, have a second?
Second.
We are adjourned at 6:39.